Hello there, people of the internet. I am out here. I have my Rock Island Armory 1911. You guys have seen this plenty of times on the channel. As a matter of fact, I've had more than one of these out here on this channel before. I've sent a tremendous amount of rounds through these. You can just go watch the various videos I've made where I'm just out on the range, and I'll use one of these for representation purposes. As a matter of fact, as far as 1911s go, this one right here is probably the one that I grabbed the most. As a matter of fact, I think that is a little bit more true than I'm actually realizing, even right now. This is the gun that I bring out whenever I go hunting, because here in Florida we have to deal with like hogs and panthers and all sorts of stuff that might not be the best to run into if you don't have a proper means of self-protection. So 45 ACP is definitely adequate enough to be able to defend myself against whatever it is that I come across out here in the Florida jungles. So the Rock Island Armory 1911, this right here is a 1911 that, well, it's got some controversy behind it, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that it is a little bit on the cheaper side. Let's zoom this thing a little bit. So this handgun right here, this is chambered in 45 ACP. It comes with an 8-round magazine, so it would be 8 + 1 rounds if you decide to carry it with one in the chamber. And typically these cost about $400 approximately if you get them new. I got this one used for about $300 and it was worth 110% every penny. I have no idea how much it was shot before I got my hands on it, but it needed a good thorough clean, so I am led to believe that it was shot quite a bit. This right here is pretty standard for a 1911. As a matter of fact, I think that it is exactly what you would come to expect with a 1911, including an internal extractor, versus some other more modern 1911s which have an external extractor, which just makes it a little bit easier to swap out. So for that $400 for a brand new one, this right here is an extremely good buy. I'm going to go ahead and just say that right now. I have shoved a tremendous amount of ammunition through this 1911, and although I think I have had a couple of malfunctions with it, that's because it was extremely dirty, and for the most part I shoot this cheapo steel case stuff, which just does not run all that adequately, especially if you shoot a whole lot of it through your 1911s. I've also fired hollow point stuff out of this thing, which does not really cycle all that well, and that makes sense because the 1911 was not designed to cycle hollow point ammunition. It was designed for ball ammunition, so if you run anything besides ball ammunition, then you might have some reliability issues. Maybe your 1911, maybe you just got lucky and your 1911 runs it extremely well, but my hat's off to you if that is the case, because that is not the case for me with any of the 1911s that I have had. So the Rock Island Armory 1911, this is a 1911 that comes out of the Philippines. A lot of people will say that this right here is from the armory in the Philippines that was shut down whenever the Japanese invaded. No, that was, well, technically yes, technically no, different company. I do not believe that these are made on the same tooling, and that is because of the construction of the 1911. How these 1911s are made, they have a cast metal frame and a milled slide. The 1911s that were in military service during the time period had a milled frame and a milled slide. Now, even though this right here is a cast metal slide, that right there is not going to give us any issues whatsoever. We know that because there are plastic slides out there that hold up just fine with handguns. So a milled metal slide, oop, bump my camera. A milled metal slide gives me all the more confidence that this right here is going to last longer than a plastic gun, and my plastic guns have lasted basically my entire life, because I've got things from my youth that I still have and shoot to this day, and they work just fine. As far as accuracy goes, the 1911 can be an extremely accurate gun. It's got a fantastic trigger on it. Just the way that the barrel harmonics work with the firearm itself, the way that it locks up inside of the locking lugs that are on the top of the slide, it just lends itself to being extremely accurate because the delayed blowback system is very repeatable. There's no real offsets with this system like you would get more significant offsets with various other kinds of firearms. And I use that term very, very loosely because the little tiny minute offsets that you would get from something that is like a gas blowback system versus a delayed blowback system. The very, very minor offsets really aren't going to diminish accuracy all that much. If you had yourself a straight blowback system where the barrel is fixed to the frame itself, you would potentially get more accuracy from something like that, but like I said, the accuracy advantage is going to be extremely minimal, especially if we're talking about something like a handgun. Most people really can't shoot handguns all that effectively beyond 25 yards, but if you give someone a 1911, they are more likely to be able to do that. That being said, this particular 1911 really does not have all that great of accuracy. Neither did the other Rock Island Armory 1911s that I've shown off on the channel, but for a handgun and for 25 yards, you can still hit a man-sized target. I mean, it's not made to be like a match-grade handgun. You're definitely not going to get match-grade 1911 accuracy from something like this right here. And for the most part, people don't need that kind of accuracy if you're going to go out and get yourself a 1911 like this. As long as you can manage to hit whatever target it is that you're needing to hit at distances that are relative to what it is that you're needing to do, then that should be good enough for most people. As a matter of fact, you'd be amazed how many people I hear tell me that they have a tack driver of a gun, and then they'll have 5 MOA groups. So we just have different definitions of accuracy. These right here, my experience with them, they're not overly accurate, but you can still pretty well make hits on target in the event that you need to if the target is big enough. It's accurate enough to accommodate what most people need a handgun to be able to do. So the price point, fantastic. You literally cannot beat this $400 1911. There's other 1911s out there on the market that are of the same price point, but they just don't have the same quality. This right here is an extremely nice a nice 1911. As a matter of fact, take out the mag. If I go like this, you notice how there's silence? Get yourself another $400 1911 and shake it around like this and see if you can hear rattling and noise. If you look in the frame, you see how there's no light coming through? A lot of times, just with the way that the frame sits on the slide, you'll be able to see light poke through the underside. So this right here is definitely a very solid fitment, or a very solidly built 1911. Alright, I will acknowledge right here at the end of the frame, if I line this up just right, there we go, you can see the recoil spring in there. That's what I'm talking about. You might find some that have a little bit of light poking through, but that's okay. That makes sense because the rail system ends in there and it kind of cuts down right there. So it would make sense that we're having light poke through right there. It's still an extremely solidly built gun. As far as the sights go, they're GI sights, nothing really to be desired about them. They're incredibly basic. Honestly, I would definitely prefer having something with better sights, but this is a GI handgun as far as the 1911 is concerned. You get the very basic bare bones 1911, and you get yourself a set of wood grips. There's no checkering or anything like that on them. I got the hiccups, I'm sorry guys. But you do get your 8-round magazine as opposed to the GI handgun's 7-round magazine, so you do have that higher capacity. All in all, yes, I would say the Rock Island Armory 1911 is 110% worth it, especially if we compare it to other 1911s in that price point. You really could not beat it, especially if you find one on the used market like I did and pick it up for even cheaper. You just can't go wrong. 45 ACP, 230 grain bullet, moving at about 850 or so feet per second. That's a heavy pill moving relatively fast, and that's some pretty significant power going downrange. Now, there's some arguments between 45 ACP and 9mm. There's some arguments that there might be some better platforms out there on the market, especially for the price point that you're spending. But if you're wanting a 1911, then dude, this right here is one of the best options out there for you if you are on a budget. Thanks for watching, folks. Appreciate your time. Like, subscribe, share. Description below has a link to all sorts of stuff. Go check it out. You guys go off. Have yourself a fantastic day. I'll see you on the next episode.
since I've done this. Bonnie and Clyde be damned. Poor man's Garen. It's a shame that bolt-action shotguns aren't more mainstream.